Jennifer Verma, the host of The Best Kept Secrets. I'm here today with Kim Wallace, my beautiful Vanna White and co-host, as well as Holly Martin. She is a consultant with a company called Tax Rebate Specialists. Can we get Holly on? Hey, Holly, how are you?
We're fantastic.
Good. So Holly, before I get into anything, I always like to give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about, who they are, how they got here, why they do what they do, before we get into the nuts and bolts of all the crazy tax stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Okay, for sure. I can do brief. So my name is Holly Martin, and I have the last 17 years have been self-employed and have really enjoyed sales trainings. I've been consulting with businesses and building teams, working with people. So I love to find in different industries where there's problems and go in and solve them. In the last year, what we're going to talk about today, I have loved probably the most of the last 17 years of anything I've ever done with helping business owners, directly working with them. And we'll get into more of that later. But I'm a single mom. I have 3 daughters and recently moved here to beautiful Texas.
Nice. And we are happy you did. So we talk a lot on here about our networking group, about Master Networks. So Kim and I are part of the same chapter. Holly is also within that group, and that's kind of how we all met. We've also already referred business between each other, and it's been amazing. So happy to have you, definitely. So today we want to talk about specialized tax incentives. They're specialized for a reason. So there are all kinds of tax strategy and tax incentives that you talk to your CPAs about and your financial planners and things of that nature. And those folks are awesome. They know the 80%, they know the 20% that adds 80% of the value. They are your family doctor, your general practitioner of your taxes, right? And they're super valuable. But there is something that is called specialized tax incentive, which are just that. Specialties. You have people that are brain surgeons in certain components of the tax code. But as an example, one of them that we'll get into later has changed 6 times over 18 months. And really, so you can't expect your typical CPA that runs 2,400 tax returns a year to really understand that 162 pages of tax code that changed 6 times. So we lean in and have been learning and understanding about what those different specialized tax incentives are, and we're trying to bring them forward. And so Holly works with a company called Tax Rebate Specialists that actually specializes. They are brain surgeons in one of those, and we will get to that shortly. But I just want to really frame what tax incentives are and sort of the differences in them. When you really look at big picture of the tax code, there are about 162 of them out there. Some are big, some are small. The government, the IRS, puts them in place for emergency relief. So when there's a hurricane in place, they'll put special tax incentives in place for businesses and people in that area to help with the economy in that space. Or there are high impact areas, like as an example, if you think about Detroit decades ago and the car industry dying, that would be a high impact area where they really want to put incentives in place to help businesses in that area because it's a failing part of the country. So, it could be business incentives. They could be long-term. They could be short-term. They could be for employees. They could be for property. That all sorts of different reasons, but there are 162 of them out there that people generally don't know about. So we're not going to go through 162. I promise. That's not going to happen. So we're going to talk about the big 4. There are 4 that are large and relevant to most of the country. But there are really 3 types, right? Before we get into the big 4, there are 3 types of incentives. There are payroll taxes, and the payroll tax refund, the employee retention credit, really is the big one that everyone know about today. They're hearing it on the commercials. They're getting lots of emails about it. People are coming to their door and giving them flyers to solicit them. This is what Holly does. Holly helps with the ERC. And that kind of tax credit is not a income tax credit. It is a refund of payroll taxes you have already put into the system. So when you file for it, the government refunds those payroll taxes as a reward, really, for keeping your doors open through COVID when you have W-2 employees. So what does that mean? You don't have to wait until you file your taxes to get the check. And the money that you get is not taxable because it's a refund. Taxes you've already paid, which is outstanding, right? The other thing is that a lot of people don't realize is that you don't just have to be a business owner. You don't have to be a business to get it. Because it's payroll taxes, it's actually something that nonprofits can get as well, which is huge. So Holly, I'm going to stop talking because you're the specialist in this particular one, not me. So I'm going to give you the floor and just kind of talk through, your experiences, maybe case studies, things of that nature that you've experienced as you've been helping businesses and nonprofits move forward and claim their credits.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, so this one, and she mentioned they change a lot. And so ERC, the Employee Retention Credit, it actually came out at the same time, like in March of 2020 with the CARES Act. So there was the PPP, the EIDL, but at the time, this one was a lot harder to get. And so it even was at a point where if you got the PPP, you could not get the ERC before the rules changed. But November 2021, there was a huge change, and they basically made it where Forbes just put out that they believe over 70% of businesses actually qualify was there for the ERC, the ones that have W-2 employees. And so it went from only being able to get it if you had a large revenue reduction, and you couldn't have gotten the other ones to be able to get that, to November 2021, it really opened up where majority can get it, which is exciting. So there's 3 qualifiers. You have to have one of these 3 things in order to qualify for it. So the revenue reduction is still there. That's one way you can qualify. The other is if you had full or partial closures. And so this is interesting. Some places, like I've helped chiropractor, right? A local chiropractor get this, and they were closed down right for that time. But when they opened back up, they couldn't have everybody in the lobby and in the waiting room. And so people would actually have to wait in their car, and they would do a text message when it was their time for their appointment to come in. So that qualifies as partial closure. If you think of your restaurant, we had 50% capacity, then 70%. And that went for a while where they couldn't because of social distancing. So that would qualify, or we just had the carry out. So that covers the full or partial closure. And then the third one is supply chain disruptions, which is kind of linked to that, because if places couldn't operate at full force, they couldn't make all of their inventory, all the products that we need to get those out. So if you experience supply chain issues, and the quarters that this is for, it's the last 3 of 2020, and then the first 3 quarters of 2021. So it goes all the way to September 31st. And what I find is businesses are like, supply chain issues, I'm still having those now. Not only did we have those in 2021, it's still going on. So that is one that has opened up that a lot of people are able to qualify for. And there's a couple of little caveats. If you are the owner or a family member is the owner, then you don't count as a W-2 employee if you have more than 51% ownership. But any other employees that you have, it's up to $26,000 you could be eligible for to get back. Jen, did you have anything?
Yeah, a couple questions. So if I'm a business owner and I took the PPP, does that disqualify me from getting the ERC now?
It did prior to November 2021, but not now. So now, if you got the PPP, you can absolutely get the ERC, which is a great question, because I have a lot of people tell me, my biggest thing I get with this is people tell me I don't qualify. It's because their accountant, maybe before November, told them you don't qualify, and the accountant was correct then. But like Jen said, accountants' plates are so full. So to know all the little changes that keep happening with this, that's not really going to be their specialty.
Right.
Holly, there's so many people I talk to every single day who I'm like, oh my God, you need to call Holly and talk to her about this. And they tell me, oh, no, I talked to my CPA and I don't count. I go, is it going to kill you to do a 5-minute call? The last referral that I sent you, he was like, I guess not. It wouldn't kill me. And I go, I just want you to talk to her for 5 minutes. He called me back. He goes, oh my God, you wouldn't believe she's handed me $26,000. And I was like, so what's my cut? And he just laughed at me. He's like, I'm going to bring you a cookie because I know you like chocolate chip cookies. But I had qualified because I had done the PPP and then I did this. And at first, when I called my CPA, he's out of Oklahoma. He goes, oh, no, that wouldn't apply to you. And I'm like, well, she's saying it does. And I filled out all the paperwork. The checks came in. Everything was taken care of. And I was all great. And so when I tell people about it and they're like, oh, no, my CPA said that's not for me, or I don't feel like I took a loss in any of my quarters. And I'm like, just do the consultation. It's not going to cost you anything but 5 to 10 minutes of your time. Just do it.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate of it because it was amazing for me and my business. So
that's so cool. And I'm so glad you said that, because there's a lot of people that say, well, I didn't So like my revenue didn't go down. I actually had the first people that I called. I have 2 friends that have commercial cleaning businesses, and they actually, because of COVID protocol, their revenue went up. So they actually had more. And so they ended up with one with 1.5 million and one with $1.2 million in ERC money. And they initially, thought to me like, I don't qualify, but I did what you did. It's just try. Like we don't have no charge. There's no charge up front with us to try. You have nothing to lose. And they were very happy, $1 million later that they tried.
Right. It's not going to hurt anything. I always tell them that what's the worst that happens? You wasted 10 minutes. I will make up your 10 minutes, whatever you need, but just make the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it hurt. So, okay. So even if the PPP was forgiven, I still qualify.
Correct. Yeah. Whether it's forgiven or not, if you got an EIDL loan, you still qualify. If your business closed, so maybe into 2021, your business didn't make it and your business closed down, the quarters you were open and that you paid payroll taxes, you can get. If your business opened after February of 2020, there's a startup recovery plan, which is kind of linked to this. So same thing, you can apply. And if your business did less than $1 million in the year, there is up to $50,000 for a quarter for the 2021 that's available for that as well.
Holly, do you think they're going to do it for 2022?
They talk about, there's rumors about extending it to Q4 of 2021. And so it's all in the works, and they talk about extending it. It's all in the works right now. So we're kind of counting on the last time that you can apply for the 2020 quarters is April of 2024. And then April of 2025 is the last as of right now. So
awesome.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. Okay. So one of the conversations that I have with people a lot is they go, oh, I didn't have 5 or more employees. Oh, yeah. And so a lot of the companies out there saying, hey, if we don't have 5 or more, really it's not worth our time to do the work and all, because it's a lot of work to do the analysis required. So tax rebate specialists, they accept businesses that have as few as 1 employee. Is that correct?
Correct. I helped a lady with a yoga studio. She had 1 part-time employee and she applied. We went through the process and she got money for her 1 part-time employee, which I love because the tax rebate specialists, the owners were business owners. They still are business owners and had several businesses, lost a couple during the pandemic and a couple are still going, and they saw and felt the pain. And so their heart is really for those individuals, that went through that. So yeah, absolutely. There's no business too small that we can help.
Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah. I've had the same experience. I have a business owner, a restaurant owner that, just didn't realize it was there. And so I walked him through and got him $120,000, and he's a struggling business that has, I would love to have had him on here. We're going to bring him on another time, but he has a nonprofit that his business actually funds. It's intended to fund. So that money's actually going to go into his nonprofit space, which has been really, really amazing.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
all right. So if anybody wants to learn if they qualify, take the 5 minutes, like him said, figure it out, fill out the questionnaire. You can go to jenverma.com/taxes and you can click on the ERC link and it'll take you to the qualification form and you can get into the system if you're interested in getting that done. So now that we've covered ERC and the payroll tax refund, I want to go ahead and break to commercial. And we come back, we're going to hear another Crazy Kim insurance story, which I'm excited about. So Lyndon, take it away.
Save to Support provides small businesses with a way to give back to any and all causes by providing consumers value in exchange for their donation dollars. When a consumer subscribes to donate on the Save to Support platform, 90% of the subscription is donated to their selected charity, and the consumer gets 20% off of all products and services in the network of participating businesses. To register as a nonprofit, supporting business, or to subscribe to donate to your favorite cause, go to savettosupport.org. That's save, the number 2, support.org. Support, shop, save.
My name is Kim Wallace, and I've been in insurance for over 12 years. I started out as a staff member in an agency helping service customers, and I absolutely loved it. Knowing that I could help people even on their worst day just to make it a little bit better was rewarding for me. We take a look at each individual family and we develop a plan that best suits their needs. Let our office give you the peace of mind to know that we've got you covered. You can call or text our office at 469-604-4484 for a free quote or a policy review. Or you can check us out on Facebook at Insure Frisco.
Crowd share turns friends. colleagues, family, employees, customers, and anyone else who wants to see your brand grow into your fans. You never have to ask anyone if they'll share your posts again. When your content is ready, CrowdShare lets them know it's time to share. And then in less than 10 seconds, your fans can share your posts and move on with their day. It's really that simple. If you would like to learn what CrowdShare could do for your business, go to crowdshare.com/demo to get a tour of the platform. And then if you decide to move over, go ahead and use the code JenVerma at checkout and get 30% off forever. That's JenVerma. Who's in your crowd?
Hello, my name is Bibi Carrington, National Sales at ShiftPixie. Now, ShiftPixie's purpose is to bring efficiency to the part-time labor markets. Are you a business owner that is struggling to find people and keep people? Well, the good news is we've curated the largest population of available workers in the country, and they're ready to work for you. You can get access to a live, local, on-demand workforce, so you never have to worry about those shift gaps again. Our technology and our engagement will also help stop that toxic turnover that a lot of operators are facing. Let's jump on a call. Let us show you how we can get you out of the recruiting business for good. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.
And we're back. Kim, go ahead and take it away. I'm crazy. I'm just looking forward to hearing the next story.
Okay, so this weekend was beautiful, right? Everybody wanted to be outside, right? I noticed a lot of people out on the lake, even though the water's too cold. Maybe they're out there fishing. Well, I had a customer who took his boat out, and we had not had rain for quite some time. If you've ever been out on a boat, if you get where the water is too low, your boat will go beep, beep, beep. His beep, beep, beep was broken. And so he ended up out in the middle of the water, completely stuck where the water was just too low. So a boat comes out to try to tow him out. Well, the towboat gets stuck. So I send another boat who also gets stuck. 6 hours later, we finally get all 3 boats out of the water, but it was a long time for him to be out there just to enjoy an afternoon. So even though the weather looks so nice, keep in mind that the lake may be a little bit lower when we have not had rain.
That's funny. So 2 stories. The tornadoes that came through, the storm we had a while back. A friend of mine has a boat in the Pier 121 slip in Louisville. The hurricane came through the pier, like the whole. Yep. His boat was untouched, completely pristine. His section, his section's here, like right next to it, just parallel to it. It tore up everything. Like it was. I saw pictures. It's crazy. But I was out on a boat years ago, and it was one of those like a Sea-Doo, so it was water propelled boat instead of. And I had Sea-Doos in the past, and I had experience where I ran over a rope and the rope got up in the Sea-Doo, and we had to take it to the store. So I'm driving this guy's boat, right? Because anyway, so we stop and we take a break, and the tube goes around and the rope goes everywhere, and he's like, "Go ahead and restart it. Let's get started." So I hit the thing without thinking about the rope. And the rope got sucked up into the boat. And he's out there with a knife trying to cut he's like, "I'm just going to cut it out." And I'm thinking to myself, I've been here before. I know what's happening next. And I'm terrified to tell him because I'm like, he's going to throw me overboard, right? If I tell him what I've done. So he's all, "Oh, we're going to do this." And once he figures out, "Oh, it may take longer." I'm like, "Look, it's 4:00. It's getting dark. Let's just go to shore. Let's get a tow. We can do shore." He's like, "That's a great idea. We'll go over here to this shore," which was not where the boat dock was. And I was like, just encourage him, like, maybe we should, get a tow to our actual slip just in case we can't resolve it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this guy's going to kill me. It was like the second time he'd taken his boat out ever, right?
Oh, no.
So I'm like, just get back because I know we're not going to restart. I know what needs to happen, but I'm not telling him because I'm just like, no, it doesn't, no. We get back, we pack up, we all go home. He gets the boat taken out, he gets it fixed, $2,000-$3,000 later, what have you. He calls me one day, he's like, "It's crazy how much it cost and all the things we had to do. He goes, it was all wrapped up in there. They showed me pictures." And I'm like, I totally know I know because I've seen it. And I finally, the next time I saw him, I'm like, "Okay, well, I kind of have a confession to make." And he's like, I go, go, I kind of knew the whole time. That's what when I explained the whole backstory to him. I said, I was just afraid you were going to throw me off the boat. I was going to have to swim into shore. I said, I'll pay for it. I promise I'll pay. I'll write the check. I'll do it. And he's like, no, I was the captain. It's my fault. So he was very gracious about it, but it was hilarious because I was like, maybe we should go to the slip. I'm just worst case scenario thinking, knowing the whole time. It was awful. Anyway, funny story. Okay, so we talked about payroll tax credits. That's one type of incentive that's out there. There are two others. There are also tax deductions, which we all hear about all the time. It's write off your mileage, write off this, 179, write off your car if it's big enough, types of deductions. There's also a specialized tax incentive related to deductions. It's the technical term is cost segregation for commercial property. What does that really mean? It means that if you have commercial property, including residential real estate, if you're renting it, right, you have the ability to speed up depreciation. So in your tax software that general CPAs use, right, there's a standard. So many years, I think it's 31 or 32 years that they depreciate commercial property. And so as they're doing your taxes, they just go, here's the property, and the software automatically depreciates it around those number of years. So let's say, I'm just simple numbers. You have $1 million property and you depreciate 10% a year, you get $100,000 deduction on your taxes that year, $100,000 next year, yada, yada, yada. Well, if you speed it up, then you could maybe your $100,000 deduction could go to a $300,000 deduction that year, right? And so I don't know about you guys, but money now is better than money later, especially when it comes to, property that you may or may not end up selling. Now, it does have an impact to your basis when you do go to sell the property. So you need to work with your tax strategist on how to manage that. But there are a couple different ways with which you can mitigate that. And when I say basis, I mean, again, you're back to $1 million property. Let's say you speed up the depreciation and you take $400,000 that first year. When you go to sell the property, you're not going to be selling it with your basis being the basis is now $600,000. So unless you find a way to roll it over with a 1031 exchange or otherwise mitigate it, you're going to have to pay taxes on that $400,000 the year you sell the property. So the two ways to mitigate it is a 1031 rollover. And if it's a residential property, like a residential house, that a rental real estate, there's another way to mitigate it, which is to actually live in the property for two of the 5 years that you've owned it. Then it becomes a personal rollover instead of a commercial one. So just like any other home you own, when you sell it, you can just roll that profit right back into another house. So if you buy a house and you've lived in it for 3 years, then you want to rent it, or you do a rental, then you move into it after the fact, you can take these deductions and not have a tax implication. All of these are on jenverma.com/taxes. You just need to think about it and get creative. But most CPAs don't do this because it does take a lot of time, because there are 3 different schedules with which you can speed it up: 7 years, 5 years, 7 years, or 15 years. And it's a lot of work, and CPAs would have to charge you a lot of money up front to do the analysis, not knowing how much benefit you're going to get at the back end. So it's typically not something they offer because most of their clients don't do it. But the companies that we work with, they do it based on contingencies. So if they find you $100,000, they're going to charge you 20% of the $100,000 on the back end once you've received the benefits. So there is no upfront cost to that. All right. So let's go into the third kind of specialized tax incentive, and those are tax credits. Tax credits are different from tax deductions in that it is a dollar for dollar reduction on the amount you're actually going to owe to the government. So if you owe them $10,000 and you get a tax credit, let's say for 2, you don't deduct your you don't reduce your AGI, right? The amount that they did, the effective tax rate. What you do is you say that $10,000 obligation went down to $8,000. So it's worth, a $20,000 deduction is a $2,000 credit per se. So there are 2 different kinds of specialized tax credits in that space. One is related also to W-2 employees. If there's something called Workers' Opportunity Tax Credit. It was actually put in place prior to or coming out of World War II. The government wanted to incent companies to hire veterans coming home from war. That's how it started. It gets re-upped every year. And what they've done is they've taken that one demographic and they've expanded it to like 9 others. So it's relevant for veterans. It's relevant for felons. It's relevant for people coming out of college, hiring new people. They also target high impact areas. They target different economic classes, like the different, and it's very complicated. It's very complicated. And the government does everything on paper, but what you have to do is survey your employee before you hire them to see if they qualify for any of the tax credits that are available to them. If they do, then you have to file the paperwork, and there are a lot of constraints and what have you to it. But each employee can be worth up to $9,600 in tax credits. That's huge. And most companies don't know about it. Your KPMG companies don't, most payroll companies know about it, but your small business owners typically don't. But it is hard and it's complicated. Again, the company I'm affiliated with, they've created technology for it. Software, it's a software as a service. You pay $30, $40 a month, what have you, and you can survey people just with an email address and find out within minutes what they're worth before you choose to hire them. There's really no reason not to do it, because even if you can qualify one person at what is the standard $2,400 tax credit, that more than pays for the platform year over year. So I've really helped actually a couple of small insurance companies, Kim, save money, but it's a long pull. You approve them now, and then you have to wait. You approve them, then you file all the paperwork, and all of that's done in the platform. And then one day you get a letter that says, great, you have a $2,400 tax credit, hand it to your CPA, and then you get it on your taxes. So it just requires a little planning up front. It's great for the restaurant industry, great for any industry that hires a lot of veterans. But there's some low-hanging fruit. Okay, so we're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to move to the next one. The next one's pretty easy. It's called R&D tax credits. If you manufacture or do research or development and you have W-2 employees, you are also eligible for a very large tax credit depending on what you're doing. So, if you're in the manufacturing space, insurance, software, architecture, anything that's research, development, or manufacturing, it's available to you. And people just don't know about it. Our software that we have, there's a landing page. It's on my website, jenverma.com/taxes, that will ask you all the leading questions for both this tax credit and all the other ones that we've spoken about, that will tell you what your business qualifies for. Again, with no cost out of pocket, no obligation. Everything is contingency based on what they find you in the back end. And the company that does all of this has been around for many, many years. They've never been, they've been audited, but they've never had any of their tax credits reversed whatsoever. So they do work with Nike and some of the big guys, but they do the deep diving, the brain surgery stuff that most CPAs don't want or like to do. Ladies, have I blown your mind yet?
So much good information.
It is. And like the cost segregation is great for like car dealerships, golf courses, hotels, things of that nature. And some know about them and some don't. We've had many, like car dealerships where somebody walks in to buy a car and walks out having found, $1.2 million, tax credit for the business. So it really moves the needle, not just in enterprise, but on Main Street as well, which is really the target of both this podcast and with, kind of what we do. So I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say.
I would tell anybody, just take the time to do the consultation, see what's out there, because you don't want to leave free money on the table because one person told you they didn't qualify. Don't let yourself be in that bubble. Just do the call.
It's a good point. Do the due diligence, fill out the form. Yep. Can't hurt.
That's right.
Like Holly said, it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time. We've got 30 seconds left. Holly, I want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite. It's great to be here with you ladies.
Absolutely. Kim, thanks as always. You're a delight. As Brendan said, thank you for titillating and delighting us today. All right, y'all. I'm Jen Verma, the host of The Best Kept Secrets. If you know, you know.